Hello everyone, this is Lye Yosh. Welcome back to Life Study Library. Today's video is going to be about how to make friends. And I'm not just talking about any types of friends. I'm talking about those people who you can actually rely on and people who will help you when you're in need of assistance. So that's what it's going to be about. How to make reliable friends, or more specifically, how to make your friends or people in general into a reliable source who you can count on. Likewise, in this channel, I'm going to be talking about these interesting scientific and psychological information by implementing data from scientific studies. So if you find this interesting and want to watch more of my past videos and keep up with my future content, then please subscribe to my channel. I'll be very happy if you do that. Alright, with that said, let's continue on with the video. Okay, so when you think about these kind of topic, many people would probably say something like, if you want people to help you out when you're in need, you have to be genuine or, be socially approachable or smiling. And while these advices are not completely untrue, they are kind of obvious. And these stuff are the first thing that you're going to come up with when you're thinking about, how to make reliable friends. Like, of course, people would find you safer the more you become socially approachable, and unless you're a pervert like me, people who are smiling compared to frowning is way more approachable than the other. And some might even say that people will only help you if they deem you as important. And if you want to be seen as important, you got to show capability. You have to show them that you can do stuff, which makes you important to them because people will think that if they tag along with you, you can lead them to success. So they'll help you, something like that. I don't even know. But honestly, there's a much easier and less complicated trick to this. And this is something that I personally feel it's important to know because too many people, despite the scientific and statistical evidence, do not know this technique. Or maybe people do actually know this technique, but our Western society puts way too much importance on independence and capability and self-reliance that it created an environment where people look at this gem as counterintuitive. Unfortunately for them, and surprising for us, this technique works, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. How to make people more reliable and willing to help you. And that technique is asking them a favor. Okay, so I'm going to explain the entirety of it. First of all, the big misconception in the Western society is that receiving help makes you look inferior and untrustworthy. We look at people like James Bond or Don Draper, who both are very capable men, or at least they look capable, and highly self-reliant who seems to have answers to everything. We view these people as our charismatic role models, and we simply admire them, wishing that we could be like them. Simultaneously, we look at people who ask others for help, whether in the workplace or in other social environment, as weak and dependent and less charismatic. The thing is that this concept of, weak people being reliant on others, this concept only applies in extreme cases. For example, if you screw up your project and ask others to take cover, that person should be deemed as weak and untrustworthy. That was your professional responsibility and you're not supposed to do that. And you can't just blame others for your professional faults and expect to not get any consequences. It's okay to make mistakes, but you can't rely on others to cover your faults. However, asking for small favors or receiving help in an unrelated field is actually a good thing that not many of us do, so it's a chance for us to implement this and get the benefits while the others are struggling. And with that, I'm going to talk about today's study. The study is interesting because it's conducted in Japan and in the US, two countries with seemingly polar opposite stances on social dependence or independence. Japanese tend to put value on social harmony, and they generally think of themselves as a part of the group that has to work together and advance together. Americans put more weight on independence and self-reliability and view personal capability as the aesthetic. This study is constructed like this so that they can see if their hypothesis of receiving help and asking for favors leads to, increase in liking from others. They wanted to see if this works in pretty much any other country. They wanted to check if this works in pretty much any other society. If it works on both ends of the spectrum, then it should work anywhere else in between. So the study took 41 Japanese and 42 American college students and paired each one of them up with one experimenter disguised as another participant and made them solve a number of different puzzles. So the partner/researcher went, I'll do puzzles ABCD while you do puzzles EFGH. During the task, the partner asked some of the participants for help, like, where do you think this piece goes? But did not seek help from the remaining participants. Later, the participants were surveyed on how much positive emotion they had towards the partner from 1, not at all, to 9, very much. The categories for the survey included words like open, sociable, friendly or unfriendly, and trustworthy, and so on and so on. And the participants are told to scale on how much they agreed with the words based on their impression of their partner. And the results showed that participants who were asked for help from their partners showed a significant increase of liking towards their partner. This is something called the Benjamin Franklin effect, where person A will like person B due to the fact that B requested help from A. So people who don't know this effect try so hard to impress others by showing off how capable they are in order for others to like them. This is an issue for two reasons. One is that the strategy actually is backfiring, and people will distance themselves from you if you keep showing off how good you are. Because they are shown that you can do anything by yourself without anyone's support, other people will not find any meaning in themselves around you. What the study provided was evidence that we humans like the feeling of helping others and being in need for others. As a social creature, humanity finds joy when they see their existence within a group is providing some type of meaning. So even though you think you're impressing others by showing how competent you are, what they actually see is the feeling of this person doesn't need me, which leads them to distancing themselves away from you, and you're left with no one to rely on when you do need help, all because you've successfully convinced them that you can do everything by yourself, which is most definitely untrue. Another reason rises when people claim that, well, that's not true. Look at all the people that are impressed by my capability. Being competent attracts people. To these people, I'll ask this: how many of the people who you attracted has helped you when you were in need? The point of building social relationship is so that you and the other person can help each other when either of you are in need. And that's what makes a healthy social relationship. If people tag along with you only because they think you can do their job for them, then that's not a healthy friendship. That's you being a slave to them. Or that's you being their wallet, or their butler, or their Uber driver, whatever. The point is that, in order for others to be a reliable helping hand when you're in need, one way to achieve this is for you to ask the other person a favor. And this favor really can be unrelated to your task and insignificant. For example, if you need to zip up your backpack but your hands are full because, you're carrying something, you can say to the other person, "Hey, would you mind holding this for a second while I zip my backpack?" Such a small request for assistance is highly effective when trying to make the other person like you more, and this is because our mind has so many ways to avoid inconsistencies. We like to see ourselves as rational beings, and we hate it when our action doesn't add up. And unless you're in an emergency, most people would not think twice about giving a helping hand to others in a form like this because it'll cost us virtually nothing. And when this happens, our mind tries to rationalize or justify why we help that person. And this rationalization leads us to convince ourselves that I help this person because I like him or her. I have a positive impression of that person. And this is the entirety of the Benjamin Franklin effect. And this also means that if we know this technique, we can use it to intentionally convince other people to like us. And we can totally use this during a social or professional interaction. For example, during a business negotiation, and you want this client to, I don't know, like invest in your company or whatever, and you and your client are walking into a meeting room, and because you're the one who's trying to sell stuff to the client, you'll most likely have some like papers in your hand, or you might have 2 cups of coffee or water for you and your client, or depending on what you're trying to sell, you might be carrying something heavy, which makes your hands full, making you unable to open the door. This is when you ask the client for a favor to open the door for you. Now, normally, people would look at this and make assumptions that you are incompetent because you're the one who invited the client to meet with you in the room, but you're receiving help from your client. They'll think that you're being dependent, and your client will think so too. But what's actually happening is that the client will be fond of you and their liking will increase. There's little chance that the client will negatively judge you based on the split second of you receiving a helping hand. This also applies to romantic interaction. Men, especially men, focuses way too much on trying to look capable and competent that they say stuff like, men have to assert dominance, and during a dinner date, for example, you have to show dominance by telling the waiter, "I'll take the lasagna," rather than saying, "Can I have the lasagna?" That's how you show dominance, and women will love that. It's so funny. Like, people who say stuff like this think like 5-year-olds. Like, chill, like buckle down on trying to look cool, or I guess that's not the right way to say it. You can totally try to look cool and capable to someone who you're trying to impress, but there's a fine line. Like, think about it. The positive effect that might benefit you by saying, "I'll take it," rather than "Can I have it?" Why would that be more significant than the fundamental social manners like looking clean and civilized, or I don't know, making sure that the other person's having a fun time? Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so assuming that you got the basic manners down, whether you're at a workplace or in a date. When you ask the opponent small favors, like the example with the door that I've talked about before, or during a dinner date, it can be stuff like, "Hey, can you pass me the salt?" Most likely the opponent will do it, right? Then their mind's gonna think, "I'm a rational person who does stuff for a reason. Why did I do that to this person? I think it's because I like this person, or at least I don't hate this person." And of course, you're gonna have to do a lot more to further impress the opponent. But this technique of asking for small favors is a good start. And also, it's pretty novel, so people will like you better than if you were trying to continuously show off your capability. So I suggest you to try this. I'm pretty sure that you're gonna have a good result. So that's pretty much it for the video. Asking for a favor is a good place to start when you're trying to impress the other person. But obviously, there's much more to the technique of persuasion, or convincing, or making other people trust and like you. And I can go on and explain the entire thing in my future videos, but for now, I'll leave you with a book recommendation. Today's book is called Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion by Robert B. Cialdini. People, this book is really important. It's so mind-changing yet so fundamental for persuasion and how the human mind works when during specific scenarios when they persuade one another. This book is so vital that so many other books straight up rip off a portion of what the book talks about. It's like Star Wars. I have the book to myself and have already read it over like 5 times. It's definitely one of those books that I would bring with me if my house burns down. So I highly suggest you to read it. It'll impact you in one way or the other. So that'll be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, now would be a wonderful time to do so. Again, thank you for watching my video, thank you for subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!